I finished Wildside by Elsie performed in Jewel by Samantha Brentmoor and Jason Clarke. This is book 3 in the Rose Hill series, and for me this is the second book I've done. I also did Wild Eyes, but have yet to do Wild Love, but have every intention of doing it. So this book we have Reese and Tabby. They have kind of become the guardian of Tabby's nephew. I mean, she just assumed guardianship and was not aware that actually, legally speaking, Reese is a guardian. And when they first meet, sparks fly, sexual tension is there, and it's like delicious. You're like, yes, this is the couple. And they go from that to basically hating one another, and neither of them really clicking that there is a common theme, and that is that the information that both of them is aware of is from one person, which is Tabby's sister, who has a history of addiction and, just for triggering purposes, does pass away due to said addiction. And the book does focus heavily on Tabby, especially dealing with the impact of that it has on family members, and trying to keep families together, and when things get too much. There is a scene where they talk to a therapist. I'm not sure whether it says whether it's a child therapist or just a therapist, because I will say some of the advice had me like, but I was like, it's fiction. And there is scenes with the little one who really brings them together, because he is their sole focus. They want to do what's right for him and realise that ripping him away from everything he knows isn't it. But also, he loves this guy as well. I did get choked up. There is a scene where a plant is involved that hit me in my feels. But that was it. I was very proud of myself, because I'd heard it was very upsetting, and I do think that some people are going to really have their emotions hit on this, and I think the performances were fantastic at drawing that out. I just think because of my life and experience, I feel different ways about certain things that I didn't necessarily get as much of that I'm gonna cry my eyes out thing. But that's just because we all bring in our own things, right? When we're reading fiction, we still bring in things from our experience and whatnot, and that impacts how we react to it. That it does not take away from how brilliantly it's written. And I said this in another video, but what I love about Elsie, especially in this book, is that there are some very heavy topics that have these moments of levity that really work. Like, that balance can be really hard to hit, but I felt she did fantastic, and that came across well in the performance as well. So Reese is a professional wrestler, but he doesn't like to tell people that. He tells them he's in the entertainment industry. So Tabby is brilliant, like he's a porn star. I mean, I would have gone there too, Tabby, that's all I'm saying. I would have gone there too. and they realise that he gets pulled up at the border because he works in the US because he's American, but he has a place in Canada where she is. And so, you know, we're gonna have a marriage of convenience so that he doesn't basically take her nephew and disappear to Florida with him. And seeing that change, and actually there is a scene near towards the end, not right at the end, but towards the end, where she has done something for Reese, and that moment where he's like, nobody has ever done something like this for me before. It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking. He did grow up in foster care, and it's kind of that like moment. There were also moments, and there is a video of me like chanting like wild side because I just couldn't help myself. It very much for this book really had me thinking about past experiences, like with my younger brothers and when we used to watch wrestling and what that was like. And I really love that sort of element to it. I love the whole thing was just, you know, fantastic. I will say I was unexpectedly triggered towards the end in the last 10%. And I'd heard the last 10% was emotional. Again, I was okay emotionally until I realised, and it was like a split thing. This happened, and straight away, like, my mind just went to my experience and those moments and how it felt and how it's felt since then. And I was very much struggling to deal with everything that I was like feeling with that. And it was interesting because although I wanted to cry, I didn't. It wasn't the book, it was the situation, if that makes sense. I don't know. It was a triggering moment that I didn't even think would be triggering for me, and it wouldn't be a like popular trigger thing, but it was just, you know, sometimes we don't even realize things can potentially trigger us. But it was really fantastic. There were some really strong performances by Samantha and Jason. The only thing I would say is that I would have liked to have seen a little bit more from the Canadian aspect, like certain pronunciations of certain words. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more Canadian based, but otherwise it was a really beautiful performance of a book with some really tough subjects, and I think it's one that everyone will look